En el año 2018, la Comisión Europea, en concreto, la Dirección General de Mercado Interior, Empresa y Emprendimiento, la DG Grow, elaboró una comunicación titulada Un retail apto para el siglo XXI, en la que básicamente hacía una radiografía de la situación del retail, qué elementos estaban acelerando o frenando su desarrollo y, en particular, qué situación estaba cada país, ¿no? Sobre todo a efectos normativos. La mala noticia es que España no ocupaba una posición ni mucho menos aventajada, sino que se situaba entre los países más restrictivos. Recientemente, hace escasamente 3 o 4 meses, se ha vuelto a actualizar ese índice de restricciones y hoy tenemos aquí posiblemente a una de las personas claves para entender ese estudio, ese trabajo. A Géraldine Fages, ella es experta senior de la DG Grow en retail, en ecosistema retail, ha participado activamente en la elaboración de ese estudio, de ese índice de restricciones y además recientemente, si no me equivoco, a finales de julio se publicó también un trabajo que básicamente lo que describe es esa transición que deben de hacer digital y sostenible el ecosistema retail. Géraldine, it's a pleasure to having you today. Welcome to Madrid. And bueno, Géraldine va a hablar en inglés. Si alguien necesita traductor, estaban disponibles. Está en el canal 4, si no me equivoco, 4. Y bueno, el escenario es tuyo. Muchas gracias.
Hola, buenos días. ¿Funciona la interpretación? Gracias. Buenos días. Gracias a todos por recibirme en la clausura de la Asamblea Anual de ANRED. Es un placer para mí hablar ante ustedes en esta asamblea. En primer lugar, quisiera disculpar a la señora Schreiber, directora responsable del ecosistema de comercio y de la distribución, que no ha podido estar hoy con nosotros. Gracias a David por sus palabras de bienvenida. Lamentablemente, mi conocimiento de la lengua de Cervantes no me permite continuar mi presentación en castellano. Lo siento mucho, pero tendré que continuar en inglés. First, I would like to emphasize that the Commission is well aware of the importance of the retail ecosystem in the EU. Retail has been identified in the Commission's industrial strategy as one of the 14 ecosystems crucial for the recovery, resilience, and successful transition of the EU economy. Of the 14 ecosystems, retail is the largest in terms of value added, employment, and number of companies. You may be surprised when I use the notion of ecosystem. This is Euro jargon, I would say, but this was a choice made by the Commission not to look at sectors in isolation, but in a holistic way, encompassing interactions between different sectors. The retail ecosystem includes, inter alia, retail as such, wholesale, and also other relevant services such as logistics and real estate. We have just talked about that, as well as consumers. And the consumer dimension is crucial for the retail ecosystem, in particular in present times when inflation is high. Retail is at the end of the supply chain, and households spend 1/3 of their consumption budget in retail shops. Also, SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, are a key element of the social fabric in urban and rural areas. They offer proximity to consumers and support local economic developments. In Europe, small and medium-sized enterprises in retail, in Europe, in retail, small and medium-sized enterprising represents 99% of companies. I know that in Spain, retail plays an even greater role in terms of activity, jobs, and number of firms than in any member states with similar economic structure. More notably, the ecosystem has a considerable number of SMEs and micro SMEs, most of them without any employee. Even more than in other member states, retail is a crucial element of cohesion, both from a social and territorial viewpoint. I'm not going to tell you a secret when I say that retail is going through a huge transformation led by digital technology and change in consumer shopping habits. Retail has been in the front line of recent shocks and challenges, with notably the impact of COVID-19 that we cannot forget, even if it seems so far away, high inflation and energy costs as a consequence of the Russian invasion to Ukraine. There is a need to look ahead and prepare the future. ¿Qué es necesario para un retail adecuado para el siglo XXI? ¿Qué agenda para impulsar la competitividad? These are the themes of this closing session, and I would like to explain a bit what the Commission is planning for this transition. At the end of July, the Commission launched a stakeholder consultation to create a transition pathway for a more resilient, digital and green retail ecosystem. The Commission invited stakeholders to provide answers to a survey questionnaire. The deadline to reply to this questionnaire is today. I am aware that ANRED contributed to the contribution that Eurocommerce is going to submit before midnight today. Midnight today. Well, they are a bit late, but they will not. They told us they will not. As a basis for this consultation, the Commission published a document in which it is sharing an analysis of the retail ecosystem and how it can accomplish a digital, green and skills transformation, how it can increase its resilience and ensure that the transition takes place in a just and fair way. This may sound very broad and a bit theoretical, but for us it is very important in this consultation to cover all aspects of the retail transition. And we also want to take on board all the diversity of the ecosystem in terms of formats, large companies, small and medium-sized enterprising, in terms of products sold, textile, food, grocery, and also in terms of business models. So we really want to get as many feedback as possible based on the questions we have put forward. This questionnaire is only a first step because this transition pathway should be co-created with all stakeholders, and in particular retailers, which are at the core of this transition. We need altogether to identify challenges, opportunities, to agree on this, and to identify specific action and commitments which are needed to accompany this transition. Based on the outcome of this consultation, We will analyze the replies we have received. We will probably produce a document on that. And then we will organize a workshop in November to deepen the understanding of the issues. Early in 2024, we should have a document. In its final, it will be the transition pathway, which will be then co-created with stakeholders and which will propose concrete commitments and proposals for actions by all the actors. The Commission, but also national authorities and stakeholders. The results, of course, should help for a smooth transition. The transition pathway will also encompass another important stakeholder process, which is what we call the Pact for Skills. Skills is a very important part of the transition process. You know that in your companies. Because of the digital technology, because of the green transition, you need to reskill and upskill your staff. And this Pact for Skill is what's happening at European level in the field of skills. In November last year, there were Eurocommerce and trade unions set a large-scale partnership for skills for the retail ecosystem. I would really urge you to take advantage of it. It is, in my view, a very important development to show that your ecosystem and the retail sector is attractive for manpower. I think it's very important because very often people are very cautious about retail and in particular large-scale retail. So I think it's important to show what this sector ecosystem brings for staff and in particular for young people. And you know that the retail sector is a great contributor to employment for young people. I would also like to emphasize another aspect which is close to my heart because I'm in the Directorate General for the Single Market. I would like to emphasize the role of the single market as our key asset for the successful transition, and also for the long-term competitiveness of the EU economy. We should ensure that retailers and also consumers can fully benefit from the single market. A better functioning single market is not only what is happening in another member state, it's also what is happening in your own member state. A better functioning single market should provide a supportive regulatory framework for the transition. The Commission, national authorities need to address unjustified regulatory and non-regulatory restrictions to retail establishment and retail operations. This will allow retailers to invest and innovate. In June, and David mentioned it, the Commission published the 2022 update of the Retail Restrictiveness Indicator. As you may know, this is a composite indicator combining several elements, covering key areas of regulatory requirements on retail establishment and operations. The first version was in 2018. So this is an update. I'm going to give you some examples of the elements we have taken into account. For instance, for retail establishments, we picked up regulations specific to the location of shops. We also picked up the level of detail in planning. For restrictions on operations, we picked up sales promotions and specific retail taxes and fees. This, like in 2018, in 2022, the update was carried out in close cooperation with competent authorities in the different member states. And I can assure you that we had a lot of contact with Marta Cabrera, who is in this room today, and she has her own view about this exercise. I'm sure you know. This retail restrictiveness indicator covered the 27 member states of the EU, and it provides an overview of the regulatory situation in each of the 27 member states of the European Union. It allows comparisons, and it also allows peer pressure. It is a soft but powerful tool to push member states to reform. It also helps national authorities to turn to alternative solutions in comparing with tried and tested measures in other member states. On average, the 2022 update of the retail restrictiveness indicator remain broadly unchanged as compared to 2018, of course, because this is the interest of having sequence over time. It allows comparison. So no big change on a broad view. However, this does not really reflect the disparities between the member states, because in some member states, restrictions have been removed. I'm thinking of Luxembourg, for instance, who carried out a huge retail reform, while in other member states, new restrictions have been put in place. And as I'm not charitable, I will not mention anyone, but if you want to have a look, I'm sure that Henriette will send you the link to have a look at our indicator. And what about Spain? Well, Spain is still among the less performing member states in that regard. It is among the member states, it's not the worst, it is among the member states which are at the bottom of the indicator, both for establishment and operational restrictions. Operational meaning activities. The situation had not changed much as compared to 2018. As regards Spain, I would like to make 2 words of caution. Not for you to jump on Marta saying you have to make progress. Yes, of course, Spain has to make progress, but 2 words of caution. First, there is a different weight between retail establishment and retail operations. So for retail establishment, we calculated 60% because establishment restrictions amount to restrictions to access to the market. So we put more weight on retail establishment. And retail operation, it's 40%. I'm not going to teach you what you know or all, but just to tell you, we know that as regards Spain, of course, retail establishment is regulated at autonomous communities level. And there, of course, Spain is not the only country which is organized like that. We have also Italy, we have Spain, we have Germany, we have Austria, we have the Netherlands, and I'm sure I'm forgetting, but these are the main ones. And we had to make a choice, a methodological choice, how to handle this situation. And we handled this situation in picking up the most restrictive region, as long as it is representative in terms of GDP in its member states and in terms of population. And that may explain why Spain, and Marta would be very happy, why Spain is a bit uneasy with this methodology, because it includes an element of I mean, it doesn't mean that the whole of Spain is restrictive, and this doesn't really show through the indicator. I would agree, even if we write that everywhere. So that's for this methodological point, which may explain why Spain as a whole is less performing than other member states. And also, when we carried out the indicator in 2018, member states helped us collaborate. I'm not talking about the Spanish authorities, but were not really taken by the exercise, you know. And when they saw that published, of course, that made a bit of an electroshock. And for the update, they were more collaborative. You know, they came, they say, well, you didn't really understand our legislation. It is not like that, it is like that. So a lot of the changes which appear in the retail restrictiveness indicator are not, do not correspond to regulatory changes, but to clarification provided by national authorities on the regulatory framework, so without any regulatory changes. So this is what I wanted to say. So yes, Spain is not well performing, but you have to be cautious in the way you approach this retail restrictiveness indicator. However, as such, I think it is a very interesting tool, and the OECD is carrying also an indicator, and the two complement each other. So I encourage you to have a look at it. It's an interesting tool. I would like also, in the latest part of this speech, because otherwise I'm going to take too much time, I would like to mention an initiative which finds its roots in Spain and should see developments at the end of this year and at the beginning of 2024. There was a petition in the European Parliament from a federation of, a Catalan federation of small retailers proposing to create a European capital of small retail. The Parliament was very enthusiastic about this proposal, and the Commission welcomed it because the small and medium-sized enterprises is something which is very important for the European economy. So the Parliament proposed to have a pilot project, so to try, and provided some financial support for that, which will only be available next year, so in 2024. But we have already to organize ourselves for that, and we are planning a workshop at the end of this year, and we are discussing with the European Parliament, but also with the Spanish presidency, to see how we can organize this workshop at the end of the year. And it was a very nice opportunity to discuss with the Spanish presidency this morning around the coffee, just before I met you here. So this is what I wanted also to show you, that things are going to happen under the Spanish presidency as regards small retail. As a final word, I would like to point out that, again to point out that the retail ecosystem is a crucial economic ecosystem for the EU economy. It has the potential not only to transform itself through this transition, through the revolution it is undergoing, but also to drive the transformation along the whole supply chain and also beyond. You are a very important ecosystem, and your transition can benefit the whole economy. And I really think that altogether we can make a success of that, and that in any case, we cannot miss this opportunity. I would like to thank you for your attention. I will stay with you after this, closing session, and I would like to thank the interpreter for a good job. Thank you.